I call the meeting to order. We begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I am noting that the agenda indicates that the meeting is supposed to start at 6:30, and we have started at 6:37. However, the public hearing item is noticed for 7. So what I'm proposing that we do is move up all of the items in front of the public hearing, and then, if necessary, we can adjourn for a brief period of time and then recall at 7. Any objections?
None.
Okay. With that, roll call.
Through the chair, I recommend making a formal motion, if you could.
Okay, I make a motion as chair to reorder the order of the meeting to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 6. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Oh, strike that. Can I have a roll call?
Commissioner Harper Pedersen,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
and Chair Silberman.
Yes. All right, now can I have a roll call? Another roll call, an intense roll call. This is so ridiculous.
Roll
But
calling for this one?
It's just for the roll call.
Oh, got it.
We didn't even do the roll call.
We anticipate that all commissioners will be in attendance by the time we hit 7 p.m., if not before.
Matter, we only
But I
need
will
3.
go ahead,
All right.
just for the record, because I'm doing the roll call now. Commissioner Bergman is not yet in attendance. Commissioner Gutierrez,
Present.
Commissioner Harper Pedersen,
Present.
Vice Chair Don Bradley is not yet in attendance. Chair Silberman.
And I'm still present. All right, the next item on the agenda is the public comment period. This item is intended for public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Does anyone wish to be heard by the commission for an item that is not on the agenda? Yes, come on up. If you don't mind, come up to the, I know it's ridiculous and it's super formal, but they're recording the, you're on TV. Yeah.
Yes, so I would like actually to know more about the public art projects, so the future projects. I'm currently representing an artist who's doing large-scale public art. So I would like to know more about the public art projects in the city, because I saw that there were a lot of new buildings which have been built, and you have a few projects, so maybe there will be some opportunities for this.
Okay. Does staff want to briefly respond to that public comment?
Sure. The city has an adopted public arts master plan. I believe it was adopted in the year 2009 when our general plan was updated and adopted as well around the same time. And the public arts master plan is overseen by the Parks Department. The city has a Parks and Recreation Commission which reviews and approves public art projects. So for example, within that plan, it identifies certain areas within the city where public art is intended and encouraged, and like you mentioned, it is accomplished through some new development projects that are within those particular areas. So one of the projects that will be submitting a public art piece in the near future is the San Carlos Transit Village, which is located right next to the Caltrain station. And there are other projects that haven't yet been submitted at this time, but one we know of will also be located in an area where public art is anticipated to occur. So if you're interested in learning more about that public art plan and the procedures here at the city, that's something that I can definitely share with you. And I think I have a card with me, and I'll leave you my card, and you're welcome to email me.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Very nice to sort of meet you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the July 17th, 2017 meeting. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes?
Give me 1 second.
I've got one change for sure, and I need some clarification on another. On the first page, it says Commissioner Gutierrez asked if Hyatt has a certain maximum number required for staffing. I think I said minimum. Because maximum number, I think it was minimum, because it was related to the question of staffing for them. I wanted to make sure how many were going to be there at the same time. So that's one. The other question I had, and we might have to go back to tape on this one because I don't remember this, but under the formal motions, number 5, I don't remember us ever voting on number 5 or adding that as a condition. Eliminate the condition requiring the applicant to provide 2 bicycles for hotel guest use.
Yeah, I believe it was in the motion, but we can go back and confirm if you want.
I feel like we talked about it, but you're right. I don't know for sure if it was
I don't
actually
think it was in the motion. I
motion.
think we may have discussed it, but I don't believe it was in the motion. Dave, your recollection?
I think we made a mistake. I mean, I think we intended to include it in the motion, but
probably didn't.
I don't think we did. I think he's right. I hope he's wrong.
I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, I remember the whole discussion. I remember about their attorneys had expressed some concern about liability, and the staff recommended that it be taken out, and no one ever stated any objection. But when the actual time to make the motion occurred, I think that I forgot. So we're in the middle of a public meeting. No, it's fine. What do you?
Okay. Oh, this is what happened.
I trust you. Here, I trust you. Thank you so much.
Through the chair, while you were having a discussion, we had a discussion, and it's recommended by the city attorney that we go back and look at the video to confirm, and then we can discuss how it might be included as a condition if it was maybe perhaps listed but not part of the actual verbal motion.
I think we need to check the tape to see what happened and then figure out how to address it perhaps at the next planning commission meeting. So in terms of approval of the minutes, maybe we'll continue that item till the.
The item.
If you want to pause on that item, I may have time to review while you're still meeting. And then when you have a full
go.
commission, you can consider the item.
That
Sure.
sounds good.
So we'll table the minutes for a second. Did you have anything else?
I did, just one thing, but you don't need to check it because I know I said it. On page 6, when in my many discussion sections, I was asking the city attorney about whether having discussions about light and views was appropriate for the planning commission. Greg said not appropriate for a criteria of approval. And so one of the things I did say then was that if we wanted to take views into consideration, we would need to draft a view protection ordinance, and he said yes. And I guess I just want to make that clear because that will be coming.
So
I want to add that to the minutes so that that's noted.
So just to clarify, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th paragraph from the bottom. You want that additional language added.
Yeah, that's kind of
Right,
where I think
right here.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
Thank you.
And it's still tabled.
Yeah, it's still tabled. Okay, so I believe we've covered 1, 2, 3, 4. We've tabled 5. As far as 7, reports on recent city council actions.
There are no reports this evening.
Planning commission comments or reports, and you can stretch it out if you like, Angela.
I wish I had something to say other than
No?
it is a pleasure to serve with you two.
I truly feel that way.
Agree.
Anything from you, sir?
No?
All right. Is there any correspondence?
None for this evening.
Are there any planning staff comments, reports, and updates on current projects?
Yes, I have a few.
Speak slowly.
So at the last Planning Commission hearing, there was a question from one of the commissioners, I believe it was Commissioner Bradley, who had asked staff when the Community Development Department is expected to be on the schedule for the Citizens Academy that's starting this fall. And so I actually went back and checked the date, so I'll make sure to mention this to Don when he does arrive. But just to follow up with the commission, I thought I'd let you all know that we're expected to be on the schedule for October 11th and 18th as part of Citizens Academy this year. I'd also like to update the commission that the Single Family House Advisory Committee met for the 4th time on July 19th to kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of the concepts that they're looking at as far as addressing single family house development standards. So staff and the consultants will be refining those concepts this month, or actually in August. I guess August officially starts tomorrow, during the month of August, and then return with a 5th meeting with the shack sometime in September. So just kind of letting you know that we're making progress and that's moving along. As the commission may be aware, we are having a regular meeting on August 21st, and that will be a study session on the upcoming cannabis ordinance. And I'd also like to just clarify that that meeting will start at 7 p.m. So we'll make sure that we get all of that right for that meeting. And then the meeting, first meeting in September, just a reminder that that will occur on a Tuesday, that's September 5th Tuesday. And so far, we have 2 items on the agenda. One is grading for remediation at 906 Holly. And then the other is actually going to be a zoning ordinance amendment that will be presented to the commission, and that's to address the definition of founders trees, particularly to address the eucalyptus trees on San Carlos Avenue. So that will be a recommendation to the city council, so that would move forward. And a lot of the information I would like to share is available on the city's website. So there's a historic evaluation for those eucalyptus trees. There's an initial study / mitigated neg deck that was prepared for that item, as well as a report by the arborist. So that is all available on the city's website for the public to review. And the mitigated neg deck was released last Friday, and it will circulate for 21 days. So if anyone from the community would like to submit written comments, they may do so and address those to Lisa Coster-Sanders, and all of the instructions are available on the website for that item.
And I'm sorry, so Lisa, it would be on the website under planning?
Correct. So that's under City of San Carlos, and then you go to Community Development. You select Planning, and then from the Planning page, there will be a link to that item.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for this evening.
All right. Ms. Costa-Sanders is coming back sometime soon.
Yeah, so she'll review that. So in the meantime, if the commission wanted to take a short recess and then come back at 7, we could do that.
All right, we'll take a 9-minute recess, an 8-minute recess. That our 8-minute recess has been completed. So we're going to go ahead and reconvene. I'd observe that during the break, we got a fourth member. Ms. Bergman still isn't here. So we were going to address the minutes. Ms. Costa-Standers, was there a resolution on the minutes?
Thank you. I did review the motion and the conversation immediately prior to the motion, and the removal of that condition was not in the motion. I guess, however,
So my recommendation to staff is to go back and revise the minutes to reflect that there was this intent to remove the condition, and then continue this item for approval of the minutes till next time, until we can revise the minutes to reflect that.
Could we, I mean, that's fine, but seeing that we've reviewed the minutes already, I mean, is there any reason why we can't just have a motion to approve them with the addition that they should reflect that, that the intention was to include that item, but that it wasn't in the motion?
That's fine, but do we usually approve minutes without, we can later revise the minutes to reflect what the
That's
commission-
correct.
okay.
There's been occasions where the minutes have been approved with corrections, so this could be one of the, one such correction that we would need to make.
So, did you have a chance to review the minutes? Yes. Do you have any changes? No. Okay, so I know I said I'm going to stop making motions, but I'm going to go ahead and make a motion if that's okay. And the motion is to approve the Planning Commission minutes of July 17th, 2017, with 3 changes. There was a change on page 1 where Commissioner Gutierrez indicated that that on, page 2, that the word maximum should be minimum. And then I believe Ms. Harper Peterson, did you have a change as well?
Did, yeah, on page 6.
And then the change that was previously indicated on page 6. And then finally, that the minutes be modified to reflect rather that that we eliminated the condition requiring the applicant to provide 2 bicycles for hotel use in the motion, that instead that the discussion indicated the commission's intent to eliminate that condition, and it was inadvertently omitted from the motion itself. Is there a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bergman is not here. Commissioner Gutierrez?
Yes.
Commissioner Harper Pedersen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bradley? Yes. Chair Silverman?
Yes, motion passes 4-0. So we have covered the rest of the agenda with the exception of item 6, the public hearing. For the folks here in attendance, this is the procedure for the public hearing. Staff is going to present a report on the history, physical features, et cetera, on the application, followed with staff's recommendations. The applicant then has the opportunity to make a presentation. Thereafter, interested members of the community may speak on the proposal. When all interested parties have had an opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed and no further discussion from the floor will be held. The commission will then consider the evidence and make its recommendation. If you challenge a public hearing item in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described in this notice, the public notice, or in written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. We ask that speakers fill out a speaker form. They're there and back in the corner, and hand it to the recording secretary prior to addressing the commission. That assists us in completing the minutes. The speakers should come up to the microphone and speak since the meeting is being recorded. This will also assist in preparing the minutes. With that, we're taking up 500 Walnut Street, design review, conditional use permit, and tentative map approval for a new 4-unit multifamily development. Does staff have a presentation?
Thank you. Yes, good evening. As indicated, the project before you is 500 Walnut, consideration of design review, conditional use permit, and tentative map. Oh, whoa, sensitive. Maybe I need the other. Oh, I messed up.
That was a quick presentation.
Did you get all that? Can you
Thank you.
redo it? I need it back to the beginning, sorry. Joe? Okay. Thank you. The subject site is a 5,250 square foot lot located at the corner of Walnut Street and Holly Street. The site is currently developed with a single-family home, and the property is zoned multifamily, medium density, which allows up to 59 units per acre. When applied at this site, that would allow up to 7 residential units. As indicated, the request before you is design review for the new 3-story townhouse building, a conditional use permit to allow parking within 40 feet of a street, and tentative map for the condominium units. There's 3 large trees on the site. The large large cedar tree in the front yard will be retained. And then there's an oak and an acacia tree in the rear yard by the detached garage. So the acacia tree on that photo is the one a little bit to the left, and the oak tree, it's actually splits and is quite large farther back to the rear of the site. The acacia tree will be removed and the oak tree will be retained. The applicant has submitted an arborist report that confirms that both of these trees can be retained with the new construction. It's the design of the new 3-story building as viewed from Holly Street. The development includes ground floor parking within a fully enclosed garage, 4 units designed in a stacked townhouse style. The second floor includes a living room, kitchen, dining area, half bath, and a front balcony. The third floor each includes 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms with a small balcony at their side yard. The building is designed with contemporary architecture with clean lines, as well as some traditional elements with the shingles and the gable ends and brackets at the upper level. Windows at the ground floor and the large second-story windows kind of help break up the building and create a very open feeling. This is the view at the side when viewed from Walnut Street. The proposed development includes stone at the base. Passing around the color and material paper. Includes stone at the base, smooth cement and plaster for the second floor, and cedar shingles on the third floor. And I'll defer to the project architect if you have more questions on the design details. And then the conditional use permit, you've seen this several times before. It's for the above ground or at grade parking located within 40 feet of a street. Due to the size of the property, it's 40 feet wide with a total area of 5,250 square feet. It would really be prohibitive to have any parking setback of 40 feet. And the architect also looked through various options for stacked parking as well as below grade parking, and due to the size of the lot, it just became infeasible. The parking will be well screened within the garage with a solid door, as well as surrounded by the walls for the first floor. The parking does comply with our parking requirements, as staff is supportive of the conditional use permit. And then finally, the tentative map is required for the subdivision. That's to create a total of 4 condominium units with common open space. The applicant hosted an outreach meeting on February 8th, and I can let him explain that if you have any questions. The city mailed public notice on July 20th and posted that in the newspaper on July 21st. Staff received 1 comment, and that was just on the trees. My response was that those 2 trees would be retained, and the commenter was satisfied with that response. And this is the motion, should you choose to make it. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions. The applicant, architect, and I believe their engineer are also here this evening.
Does anyone have any questions for staff at this time?
I do, actually. Lisa, can you help me understand, when I was going through the applicable minimum design standards, I guess I'm curious, how, why, or under what circumstances substandard lot sizes are allowed? Because there seems, this is a much smaller lot than the requirement indicates.
Yeah, right. So for any new subdivision, it would need to meet the minimum lot size requirements, but since this is a legal lot, it is developable.
Okay, so it's grandfathered in essentially.
Correct.
Got it, okay, thank you. And then, let's see. Question about the parking standards. So the 20% reduction is automatic because of where it's located, and it doesn't require a TOD plan or any sort of incentives on the part of the developer?
Correct, it does not require a TDM plan. It's just given its proximity to transit, it's actually something we really encourage them to look at. Previously, they were providing more parking, and we really wanted to have that reduction to encourage the alternate uses of public transportation.
But we couldn't require or request that they give out passes or anything of that sort, I guess, since
Yeah,
there's
because it does meet all the
It
code
does meet it.
requirements, correct.
Got it, okay, thank you. And then one final question for you, Lisa. So this is the second consecutive request to adjust the parking distance from the street. And I guess I'm curious if our requirement is too restrictive and if maybe we should agendize a change to the zoning
Yeah,
ordinance?
I think we talked about that a little bit at staff to try to look into maybe more about what the intent is, because a lot of the ones that you're seeing, they're within a fully enclosed parking garage. And I think the
Sense.
intent is to hide the parking, which all of these projects have done. So that is something, yes, we're looking at it a staff level and I believe may bring forward.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Lisa. Those are all my staff questions.
Anyone else have any questions for staff at this time? Okay.
No.
Does the applicant have a presentation they want to make?
Good evening, Fred Strath, the architect. We went through a series of options as far as garage and driveway and so on. This seemed to be kind of the most practical. Lisa has given kind of a good presentation as far as the overview of the project, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions you might have.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant or the architect? And I'm sorry, who do you have with you?
The civil engineer and the owner.
Okay.
I do. Can you just walk me through the setback on the third floor real quick? And I think it's maybe my eye looking at the renderings, but it doesn't really look 10 feet back. So can you kind of walk me through where that 10-foot setback is on the third floor?
Okay, that applies to the rear of the building, or what is actually side view opposite this.
So he needs the Walnut view, I think.
So you have Walnut, and then you have the side property line, which is the opposite side from what you see on the screen. On that particular side, there's a 5-foot setback on the first 2 levels, and then a 10 on the third.
Could you guys put that up so I can
The
see
view
it?
from the Walnut Street, please.
I'm just trying to get a sense of the setback because it seems not to meet it, but I'm sure it does. I'm just not seeing it.
Visually, it just looks
Right.
like, it looks flat.
Thank you. That's exactly what what I'm getting at.
We have kind of a street frontage, and we have a rear setback or along the side there. So where you see that sloped roof, that cuts in the 5 feet to go from a 5-foot to a 10-foot setback.
And am I looking on Holly Street right
So
now?
on Walnut,
Walnut right now for what's on? Okay. And so you're telling me from wherever I am over here to that third floor is 10 feet?
is on the left-hand side from what you see here.
So I think what they're saying is there is no setback from Walnut. The setback is from Holly.
Yeah.
So if if you believe there should be or needs to be a setback from Walnut, there isn't one.
Is that consistent with our development standards to not have the setback from Walnut?
I know, I hear staff busily conferring on that issue.
I'm happy to hold on until
Because we
staff
we
comes
start
back.
with a 10-foot setback on Walnut Street. I'm sorry, on Holly Street.
Yeah, so the requirement that we're implementing is that on the interior side, which is the side, facing the neighbor's yard there, opposite Holly Street, that's the one where you need the additional setback, 10 feet from the property line.
According to the report, the setback on the Walnut side is 15 feet. And it looks like the setback from Holly is 10 feet on the ground level, and then increases to 15 feet as it goes up, I think.
Yeah, I'm not super clear on it.
Doesn't
Actually, on Walnut Street, it maintains the 10-foot.
We're going to grab the code to verify that interpretation, but I believe it was only required on the interior side and not the street sides. So if you wanted to ask other questions, we can come back to that one.
That'd be great, thank
That
you.
was my understanding.
Great. Can you quickly walk me through the common open space? When I was looking at the open space requirement and what was considered common open space, it seemed like it was a lot of stairs. Can you walk me through what else is considered common open space in the design?
Okay. If you're on Holly Street, the right-hand side, if you take that area and a little bit of the other front setback area, then you'll get the required setback for common space. The units themselves have additional private private space. for
Private
deck.
open space? Yes. Okay.
I think it's better viewed on the landscape plan, sheet L1. So what's kind of traditionally the rear yard, if Walnut is the front, that entire area is common open space. So it's landscaped, it's got some pavers in there, and it's got some, I believe, crushed granite in there. And then there's a little walking path that could take you around the backside. So it's really that traditional rear yard that has a lot of landscaping in it and functions well.
Do we have an elevation for the interior side of the building?
We do in the plans, I didn't include it in the presentation.
Where, where on the plans is it? Which sheet? I think that's where that's where there's supposed to be a 5-foot, increase of 5-foot setback, according to the,
On sheet 5 is that interior elevation, but since it's just a flat elevation, it'd be hard to see how it steps back. You can see it on sheet 6, where you see the side, the front and the rear elevations, you see how it steps back on the upper level.
so which is the interior? Is that the right elevation or the left elevation?
The interior is on sheet 5 as the southeast elevation.
So, I mean, just according, I'm sorry, I don't mean to get too minutiae, but when you look at the, report on page 3, it says that on the interior side, it has to have a 5-foot setback on the first and second floors, and then a 10-foot setback on the third floor.
Correct.
So is the whole thing 10 feet, or is there an additional 5 feet?
The third floor is set back, with the entire third floor is on that interior side,
Because that's where these,
and then the balconies come out from
Balconies
there.
are.
Correct.
okay, and so the balconies, got it. All right.
The balconies were primarily put in there to kind of break up
To
that
provide, and
roof.
to provide the necessary setback, presumably. Okay. Is that kind of where you were going?
I think the renderings are just having me.
Yeah, they look very flat.
They look flat.
And there doesn't, I mean, looking at them, there doesn't seem to be a lot of breakup of bulk and massing.
Right.
Which is, I assume, where you were going.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems to be my thing these days.
I wasn't going to say that, nor was I going to do any.
All right, I'll say it for you. And particularly because also LU 810 says that all facades should have quality elements, and I mean, essentially what it says is it should look nice from all facades. And I understand that not all facades necessarily need to have the full articulation that the front facade does, but I'm just,
I'll bet you
like I
that.
said, I feel like it's a rendering problem, probably.
Yeah, I'll bet you those balconies look
but-
pretty nice.
Yeah, and all 4 of those
Well, no,
units
I-
have gable projections.
I would agree with that.
If you look at the very back of the staff packet, there's the graphics that the applicants provided, and the second to last one shows that elevation, so you see
Yeah, that is
the
nice.
roof line, and then you see the balconies are very open.
Yeah.
And so that's where that additional step back is.
Okay, I see what you mean.
And the stone base does wrap around that lower elevation as well.
I will say I really do like the gables. I love the open glass on that floor. I think it really helps break it up. And obviously, the balconies look lovely, and I love that there's a minimal use of stucco. So the breaking up of the materials, and I think the colors you chose, I'm imagining it's going to look really nice. So I will say, overall, I like the design. I'm just trying to make sure it's consistent
Sure.
with what
And
what our
unfortunately,
standards are.
I have a 3D movie version of it, but we couldn't sync up, so I can't show.
I would have loved that.
That way I could have walked you right on around the building.
Right.
But
Okay.
Anything else for,
Your architect's not here?
I am.
Oh, you're the architect, okay. Then congratulations for squeezing every single square foot you could according to the zoning and the requirements of the city to come up with a workable project like this. Also, I congratulate you on getting the parking worked out to this, so it looks like it would work. I did notice the landscape plan doesn't show the existing oak, or I couldn't see it on here, and I think we should show that it's saved. And congratulations on saving the big tree out front, but it's going to be awfully close.
Yes. Yeah, I did have a revised,
Yeah, unfortunately, I received the revision after the packet was prepared, but we do have the revised plan, and we can note it in the record as well. Thank you.
yeah, because we thought it was important to save those trees.
Happy about that.
anything else for the architect?
We're able to follow up on your question on this upper story setback. We did pull the code and confirm that it's only required on that interior side to have the additional 5 feet. And what you may be thinking of is you've received probably more 4-story buildings than you've seen 3-story buildings, and that's where that upper story setback really comes in.
Thank you, and thank you for helping walk me through all the sides and elevations. Thank you. Those were all my questions and comments. I think it's a very nice-looking building.
So on this drawing, it makes it look like there are openings on the interior side to the garage. Is that real?
We were trying to open the garage so it wasn't just a closed-in space, but that was either going to be some kind of lattice work or some kind of wall treatment, because it would probably be desirable not to have a garage open to.
Yeah, I don't think that that would look very good, especially for the neighbors. Because right now, there's a relatively small structure next to it. So, I mean, so what were you thinking, lattice work?
Yeah,
Could we do some
something-
sort of like living wall or something like that? You know, maybe some, like a plant wall or something? Could you do that?
Absolutely. In fact, we have another project, we're looking at that option, so yes.
Are you okay with that? Yes. Okay. May I make a comment? There is a two-story building. If you can come, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be overly formal, because I'm not, but it will only record if you're actually at the podium.
In this state of turmoil this country's in right now, I've just, I appreciate your comments about trying to design what we can maximum on this building. I've been a licensed contractor 45 years, folks. I built 2 houses down 10 years ago on Holly, 1263. What has happened today with zoning requirements and intensity, listening to these questions, Fred and Lisa have worked very well together. I purchased the property 14 months ago with a rendering showing 4 townhomes on it with 2-car garages. I walked it into the planning department, City of San Carlos, before closing escrow. Yes, it is doable. 7 months later, after changing ingress egress from Holly to Walnut to 2-car garages to single car because of transit district, talking about things that are very difficult to describe. And finally, after my gibberish, I'm sorry for going on, but I needed to vent. This had to come out. But to answer your question, well, it's been a long process. I have a bank that believes in me, but they're starting to lose faith if I don't get this project going. So to answer your question on the open space in the back where the drive-through is, Fred, thank God, designed that garage with the 6 parking spots. But in order to back up that final last spot, we left that little opening so you could rear. You must realize there will be a 6-foot fence there, all kinds of landscaping. Plus, there is a 2-story building there. The people are not going to see that opening because there's a 6-foot fence there. So I think things have been addressed well. And again, please, my intent is not to make dollars here. It's try to get this project finished and try to provide housing, believe that or not. But it's been a very interesting experience. And I wish people would go through some of this on the other side and then realize, because I will speak at a forum for seniors on what it takes to put a project together, what the costs are, what the timeframes, and then if your council is favorable or not. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Now I'm confused. So are you saying, I'm looking at this rendering right here, and there are these 2 big, they look like almost, okay, so what were you talking about?
The rear, where you said the apartment behind.
No, I wasn't talking about the rear. I was talking about right here on this rendering.
Oh, well, the front garage doors are all covered and with planning.
That's,
Opposite.
it's not the front.
Oh, okay, then I guess Fred can address that better than I can. I just was going off on it.
This is, as far as I understand, this is the interior. This is the side that is opposite to Walnut, I believe. This is the interior where there's basically what I'm guessing is a triplex right next door.
I think it's 4 units.
Okay, well, it's 3 garages. They have 3 garages.
Right.
So this, as I understand it, this elevation is the one that is immediately adjacent to that property.
Correct.
And it's got 2 basically garage door-sized openings. And I thought that that was not terribly attractive, but if you're telling me it's absolutely necessary from a function standpoint, then I'm open to hearing that. But it sounded like your architect was okay partially enclosing it.
That was between Lisa and Fred. I don't think so. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll sit down.
But vent heard.
Okay. Originally, there was a wide opening so that they could back out and then pull out to the street just to make maneuvering simpler.
I see.
When the building was kind of divided up into like two duplexes for various reasons, columns were put in there, which now would make it rather difficult to be able to back into that space. So having that open isn't as important as it was originally. So yes, I'd say we'd be willing to go with lattice or living wall or whatever else, because again, it isn't as necessary as it was at one time.
Okay, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Okay, sorry.
One more.
Yes, sir.
I'm not so sure that those two cars against that wall will be able to back out with those posts there.
It'll take a little extra maneuver because they are against the wall. Those openings give just a little bit of maneuvering space.
The other option would be to have the landscaping on the fence side to screen it rather than against the wall of the garage to give that little extra buffer.
I'll just ask for some screening, maximum screening to the extent feasible. How's that? So we have one public comment. It's Paul Siegel from 512 Walnut. Did you want to come up, sir?
I think there's more.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Thanks for giving us the time to speak. My wife and I are 9-year residents at 512 Walnut, and my wife has respiratory problems, so we're concerned about the dust during construction and the noise. And so we were here when there was the hearing on 530 Walnut and 545 Walnut, so we really appreciated the fact that the commission would put in requirements for dust mitigation measures and noise abatement and limiting the hours to Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So we'd like to ask for similar requirements for this construction.
So I'm assuming that we did that as part of the grading and dirt haul, and I don't think there's any grading dirt hauling on this project, is there?
There's not a grading and dirt haul certificate required because it's well under the 1,000 cubic yard threshold.
Okay.
So you have a design review, tentative map, and then the use permit for the parking.
So then, when it comes to dust mitigation, noise abatement during regular construction, we don't have a mechanism to alter construction hours?
So I think the construction hours are set by the code. Have
Right.
we modified those? I think we've modified like the
Definitely have done
dirt
dirt
haul,
hauling.
right?
Dirt haul, yeah.
But I think, I want to say we have, I mean, that was my question last time on
Yeah.
26 Elkhorn. I'm pretty sure we have limited
I feel like we
construction hours.
have. I'm not sure we can, and again, I don't know that this meets the threshold, I'm just
No.
curious.
I mean, like, hey, if I can condition it, I'm happy to condition it.
Right.
We were looking back at the documents for 530 and 545, and we did see that hours were limited on those projects.
Was it construction hours or was it dirt haul hours?
Well, it was, I know it was 530, which did not have the underground garage component.
I want to say it was construction hours.
Yeah.
I do remember your testimony at that time.
Could I be wrong? Yeah, but I think Jesse's right. Sorry.
And
I think-
what did you understand the construction hours to be limited to?
I believe it was 8 to 5. I could be wrong about that.
8 to 5 Monday through,
8 to Friday, yeah.
Is there any way we can check?
well, I mean, we could avoid even having to worry about it if the applicant is willing to limit the construction 8 to 5.
Again, without being formal, the demolition is going to be a green demolition. We're going to take it down by hand. The only time we're going to have a piece of equipment in there, a backhoe, is to take out the footings, and that's going to be one day. There's going to be minimal grading
And are you okay with an 8 to 5 limitation to construction? All right, well, the applicant's fine with it, so then we don't have to worry about whether we have the power. So is that? If you can go ahead and come to the microphone.
Thank you. I'm the one who has the breathing problems. It's really, we understand, it looks like you're putting up a beautiful building, and we have no problems with that. We just really ask that there be mitigation to the dust through the whole construction project. Our apartment is, it's one building back, there's a small building, and then we're up on the top floor of the building behind it, right over the project. So it really, really is important to us that the dust be kept down during the whole construction.
So I don't know if you heard the applicant. I mean, he indicated that basically he was going to take it down by hand and do minimal grading. So what I think
The whole construction we're talking about, not just knocking down the building. The construction's going to go on for a long time, and there's going to be dust, and it goes up in the air, and we're right over it.
So I think that what we can do is we can ask staff to work with the building department to ensure that, as building permits are issued, the issue of dust is addressed.
Oh, thank you so much.
And through the chair, condition number 13 references best management practices. And typically these best management practices also include measures for dust mitigation. So we can, if the commission, wants to specifically cite dust mitigation, we can add that to condition 13. But otherwise, the BMP's best management practices address these types of concerns for all projects.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Magnani, did I? Well, no, there are two options. I knew, I worked with an attorney named Tom Magnani who spelled it exactly like that. So I'm sure you're saying your name right and he's saying his name
I would
wrong.
hope so, after so many years. Thank you. First, I want to say I am presently delighted by this beautiful building. Thank you guys for building it. I've been a resident of Walnut Street for 8 years. I live in that little building that everyone keeps referring to next to it, 510 Walnut Street. So this is going to be my neighbor. So I've been living on Walnut for 8 years, and I'm sure as the Seagulls know, 8 years ago it was a fairly quiet street. And as of late, it's been turned into a hotbed of construction, noise, and air pollution. I do welcome the facelift that this street needed. It was full of kind of older apartments that were kind of going down, and I think it's actually really important for the beauty of the neighborhood. But my biggest concerns really are surrounding the fact that there's 3 current major construction sites within 2 blocks, and then 2 more slated to start at 5:30 and 5:45. Like the Seagulls, I actually am a family man. I have some young ones at home. And my concerns really surround them. We live in an old building with single pane windows. It's incredibly drafty. And my landlord, we've asked her several times, understanding that these gentlemen need to build their building. And she says, well, she doesn't have to do anything. So there's nothing she has to do to put in double pane windows, put in better insulation. So on hot summer nights like this, our windows are all open, meaning that we get the dust, we get the VOCs, we get anything that's coming off the construction site. So I think my main concerns really are surrounding how we can maintain this sleepy community and help it get through this tumultuous time of transition.
Any specific suggestions with respect to this project?
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I actually asked my father, who's in the construction industry, and I first thought about asking to put a moratorium on building until 5:30 and 5:45 are done. And I understand this gentleman took out a major loan. I wouldn't want to, make him financially insolvent after he took this great risk. I'm actually turning to the council for that, seeing what we can do to help this neighborhood get through it, because it really has turned into, and I recommend everyone come down at 7:30 in the morning and watch the cars line up, or even 7 o'clock in the morning as the diesel trucks spew through our neighborhood. It's pretty rough, and it went from a quiet neighborhood to just a hotbed of activity.
Anything else we can do other than, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate the open forum. Specifically, talking to my landlord, asking her to put in double pane windows and making sure that old drafty apartment can actually be sealed off. I work from home on some days, and so does my wife, and we have our kid at home as well. And I understand those are construction hours, and they have to work from 8 to 5. But as we all know, that there is certain externalities that come from construction, whether it's air pollution, whether it's noise pollution, and those are all hazardous to certain people's health. I would like to be in my home with the windows closed and know that there's no pollution blowing into my house. And if you've been to 510 Walnut, it literally is an arm's length. I can reach over between our property lines where my door is and that is, and with my, long skinny arm, I can touch the fence.
I guess I would ask city staff, is there anything we or the city staff can do to help this gentleman mitigate this challenging time?
Beyond limiting construction hours, construction hours and days of the week, as well as the best management practices that are employed during the construction activity. We don't really see any other options, but those are typically the tools that we have in our toolbox to address these types of concerns.
Right. I mean, it might be a better discussion for council or anybody else, but it does seem like this neighborhood is hit particularly hard with kind of a rush of construction at the same time. If there's something that can be done, it would be nice. I am certain you're right, and there's nothing particular that we can do, but we feel you. And
I think
we know
what's
that's
difficult. I think
very challenging.
We're all pro-growth. Watching San Carlos go from a sleepy city to a booming young town is great. It's great for my family. But I think when we are approving all of these construction permits, people forget that people live there, and we live our lives there, and we have a right to live there in peace,
Right.
And it's inalienable. And right now, I don't know how the Seagulls feel, but it's loud, and it's through all hours, and it's become pretty bothersome.
Yeah.
Are there any other projects north of San Carlos Avenue that we haven't seen yet that are on their way?
No, we don't believe so. Nothing that pops to mind. I don't believe there's any additional in the queue.
That's something.
Through the chair, I just
Got me to
also
smile.
I just also wanted to mention that for other projects, I know there have been requirements or conditions placed on those projects to send out courtesy notices during the course of construction, so at least neighbors can be informed when certain types of construction activity would take place. So I know that's been something else that we've done in the past.
So I did find 530 Walnut. We did condition for limited construction hours, as well as the noticing too. So I'll probably make a recommendation on that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There are other folks here who haven't had an opportunity to speak. Was there anyone else who wanted to provide public comment who hasn't had an opportunity to do so? All right.
I would just say we appreciate the residents' concerns about dust and noise in the construction phase, but keep in mind that it is temporary. The job will get done.
And I imagine it just doesn't feel temporary after a while. As someone who's lived across the street from a construction zone now for a year with probably another year to go, I understand. So with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to acknowledge Ms. Harper Pedersen for the second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Yes.
Commissioner Harper Pedersen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bradley?
Yes.
Chair Silverman?
Yes. Commissioner comments, questions, thoughts, deliberations?
I think I expressed most of my thoughts during the question section, only to say that I really, once again, I really do like the design, and I'm glad that it's what looks like is going to be a very nice building going up. And anything we can do, Jesse, if you're going to add the recommendation as far as construction hours and dust mitigation would be great. And that's all I have.
Anything from you, sir?
I am delighted, as I said, that you've saved the oak tree in the back of the property and the large tree at the corner. I would like to see, if possible, maybe a variance that the building be moved about 5 feet to the west, because otherwise the large tree on the corner is going to be within a foot of the wall of your building there. I measured it off.
You want to respond to that? Because I don't think we could actually do a variance today, I assume. So I don't know, is that right? Is the tree only going to be a foot from the building? Do you want to come on up?
And Don, are you mostly concerned about the health of the tree or
Yeah, I'm delighted that they're
Okay.
not going to remove the tree, but you'll end up with having to cut half of the tree off up to 30 feet.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Just 2 days ago, I met with with Richard Main, your city arborist. We measured it off, and we are 4 feet away from the root system. And his recommendation was to have him out there if we experience a couple large below-grade roots, more than 6 inches. And I told Lisa, I am more than willing, we will do whatever we can to protect that tree. And the whole issue originally of this project was to save that tree for the neighbors. And it's a huge, it has 2 main trunks going up. We're going to keep both of those trunks, but we're going to trim in a rotation around. And Mr. Main, Richard, said he did not see any problem. Not trying to correct you, but the way we taped it off from the line, and again, we have to have a final survey in the corners and the points, but we are showing 4 feet away from that tree, not a foot.
I measured with my own feet and to the sidewalk,
He has deceptively large feet. He has deceptively large
11
feet.
shoes?
Listen, the sidewalk may not be the property line.
There's an inside, there's 2 different lines there. There's the median, the sidewalk, and then there's a foot, there's almost 14 inches before the property line. So there's a city right-of-way there. That's what you're confusing.
Okay.
Also, if you walked it also, did you notice that there's a high-voltage PG&E vault? There's 2 of them there.
Yes.
So this precludes another problem with the property. Originally, planning wanted us to come in Walnut Street. It doesn't work over those high voltage mains. There's many innate things that are hassles with this project.
If, as you say, there's 4 feet between the tree trunk and your roof line or your building, I am elated, sir.
Okay, the other thing too, please, again, we have designed the pad for this building instead of using piers. When I built down the street, 4 down, we used piers that were 15 foot on center throughout the building. We've gone to an 18-inch grid with double sets of rebar for the existing pad. So that negates the depth near that tree also. That's another migrating, was to try to keep the foundation shallow, not to affect the tree. So a lot of thoughts gone into that tree, sincerely.
Any other Planning Commission comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, deliberations, salutations, elucidations? Do you want to make a motion?
So, yeah. You wanted, what was?
I would like to see the openings on the, I think it's the north. Is it the north elevate? What are we calling it?
I mean, we know what you mean, but right?
I want to get this accurate.
Yeah.
Per the plan sheet 5, it's referenced as the southeast elevation.
Yeah, the southeast elevation.
So Screening the openings of the
So,
southeast
yeah,
elevation to the
screening
extent feasible?
Exactly, screening the
Southeast elevation.
southeast, the openings on the ground floor of the southeast elevation with,
To the extent feasible.
with landscaping to the extent feasible.
All right, I'm not the expert like you are, so you may have to help me with this one, but
You're going to do fine.
I move that the Planning Commission grant approval of the request for design review, conditional use permit, and tentative map for a 4-unit townhouse building at 500 Walnut Street, APN 050-064-040, based on the findings and for the reasons incorporated in the staff report as conditioned in the code compliance certificate, conditional use permit, and tentative map with condition 22, construction activity shall be limited to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday only. Condition number 23, that the applicant contractor send a courtesy notice to neighbors within a 300-foot radius prior to the start of construction, and have a contact number for them to contact the person in charge. And condition 24, I can't read my own notes. So to allow screening in the southeast elevation, opening with landscaping to the extent feasible. Is that fine?
Yeah, require, but yes.
Okay, require.
And then, did you want to make a modification to 13 to make clear that best management practices include
Dust mitigation?
dust and particulate mitigation?
Sure, I'll take that amendment, or that addition, I should say.
Was there anything else before a second?
I think that's everything. I'll second that.
Okay, there's a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Yes.
Commissioner Harper Pedersen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bradley.
Yay.
And Chair Silverman.
Yes. Good luck. Oh, yeah.
Did you, I was going to say, did you? We're still rolling, Dave.
Hey, ask the attorney.
I don't believe the
as-
gavel was-
As soon as two people leave, the meeting is automatically adjourned.
Thank you.
As a matter of law. Yes, I adjourned. I don't bang the gavel.